The warning came too late. Admiral Tae-hyun stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable, watching his screen fill with red dots. Thousands of them, enemy ships dropping out of hyperspace around Earth and every human colony at the same time. His communications officer turned to him, her face pale. The message had just arrived from the Galactic Concordat. It was short, direct, final, Directive 719, complete eradication of human species authorized. No exceptions. No survivors. Tae-hyun had served in the Navy for 23 years. He fought pirates. He explored unknown systems. He even helped the Concordat stop a small war between two alien races. Humans and the galactic community were friends, partners. They traded technology and culture. They shared scientific discoveries. His own daughter was studying alien languages on Earth, and now they wanted humanity dead. The first missiles hit Earth's orbital stations. Bright flashes appeared across the view screen. Each flash was thousands of people dying. Tae-hyun gripped his command chair. His crew waited for orders. They were just one ship against an armada. On New Seoul Colony, Lieutenant Dae-jung was leading a training exercise when the sky turned red. Massive alien ships appeared overhead. He barely had time to shout a warning before the bombardment began. The city shields held for 17 seconds. Then the antimatter warheads broke through. Dae-jung grabbed his rifle and ran toward the civilian shelters. Buildings collapsed around him. The heat was unbearable. He could hear screaming everywhere. Children crying for their parents. People trapped under rubble. His Marines followed him through the chaos, pulling survivors from the wreckage. They saved 43 people before the second wave hit. The colony had 8 million residents. Dae-jung watched the numbers on his tactical display drop. 8 million, 6 million, 3 million. The numbers kept falling until they stopped updating. The central network was destroyed. Dr. Hana was in her laboratory when the attack began. She worked on a secret research station hidden in an asteroid field. Project Prometheus was so classified that most humans did not know it existed. The station had no weapons, no shields. They were scientists, not soldiers. Her assistant burst into the lab. The main colonies were under attack. Earth was burning. The Concordat was killing everyone. Hana stood frozen for a moment. Her brother lived on Earth, her parents too. She tried to call them, no signal. The communication networks were gone. Hana made a decision. She activated the station's emergency protocols. If humanity was dying, then her research could not fall into enemy hands. She encrypted everything and prepared to destroy the lab, but her assistant stopped her. They should not destroy it. They should finish it. If humans were being exterminated, they needed a weapon to fight back. Ambassador Mira was on the Concordat homeworld when it happened. She was attending a diplomatic conference about trade agreements. She noticed the alien delegates acting strange. Quiet conversations, worried looks. Then the security forces came for her. They were polite but firm. She was being detained for her own safety. Mira demanded to know what was happening. The guards would not answer. She was locked in a diplomatic suite with guards outside her door. She accessed the Galactic News Network on her personal device. The headlines made her sick. Human colonies destroyed. Earth under massive assault. Concordat forces executing Directive 719. She read the official statement. Humanity was too dangerous. Too unpredictable. They had to be removed for galactic stability and peace. Mira had spent 15 years building relationships with alien civilizations. She believed in cooperation and understanding. She trusted the Concordat. And they had been planning this genocide the entire time. Back on the Indomitable, Tae-hyun made his choice. He could not save Earth. The planet was already dying under waves of antimatter bombs, but he could save his crew and maybe find other survivors. He ordered his ship to jump to hyperspace. As they escaped, he watched Earth's last moments on his screen, the beautiful blue planet where humanity was born. Where billions of people lived and loved and dreamed. It was covered in fire now. The oceans were boiling. The atmosphere was burning away. In 6 hours, Earth would be a dead rock floating in space. Tae-hyun had orders to follow in case of total catastrophe. Secret coordinates, hidden bases, contingency plans that nobody thought would ever be needed. He entered the coordinates and the Indomitable jumped away. Across 12 star systems, humanity died. Orbital bombardments wiped out cities in seconds. Bioweapons killed millions. Fleets destroyed space stations and ships. The Concordat was efficient and thorough. They had planned this for years, but they made one mistake. They thought killing most humans meant killing all humans. They did not understand how stubborn humans could be, how much they would fight to survive, how far they would go for revenge. In hidden bunkers, scattered ships, and remote research stations, humans survived. Not many. Maybe 1 million out of 12 billion. But they were alive. And they were angry. The Concordat thought they had exterminated a dangerous species. What they actually did was create something far worse. They turned humanity into ghosts. Into shadows. Into a nightmare that would haunt the galaxy for years to come. The genocide was complete. Humanity was declared extinct. The Concordat celebrated their successful operation. They had no idea they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. 6 months passed since the genocide. The Concordat declared humanity extinct. Their leaders gave speeches about galactic security. Their news networks called it a necessary action. The alien citizens tried to forget it ever happened. They were wrong about extinction. Admiral Tae-hyun stood in the command center of a hidden asteroid base. Around him were holograms showing the locations of 20 human ships scattered across the galaxy. 20 ships from a fleet that once numbered thousands. But 20 ships was enough to start. The survivors had found each other using old emergency protocols. Military vessels, mining ships, even a few civilian transports that escaped the massacre. Not much of a fleet, but Tae-hyun was not planning traditional warfare. Traditional warfare would get them killed. He studied the hologram of Concordat shipping lanes, supply convoys, patrol routes, scientific outposts, all of them far from major fleets, all of them vulnerable. His first officer asked him if they were really doing this, attacking the most powerful military force in the galaxy with 20 ships. Tae-hyun smiled grimly. They were not going to attack the Concordat. They were going to terrorize it. The first strike happened 3 days later. A Concordat supply convoy heading to a military base simply disappeared. 20 cargo ships filled with weapons and food. Gone. The Concordat sent patrol ships to investigate. They found nothing but empty space and faint traces of human technology. A week after that, an alien research station stopped responding to communications. When reinforcements arrived, they found the station intact, but empty. All personnel missing. The computers showed signs of human access codes. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was destroyed. The scientists just vanished. Then a patrol fleet of 15 ships exploded while passing through an asteroid field. Human nuclear mines disguised as rocks. The fleet admiral never saw it coming. Lieutenant Dae-jung led ground operations. His team of 40 Marines became known as the Shadowborn. They had occupied human colonies where the Concordat had stationed garrison forces. Quick strikes in the night, free prisoners, steal supplies, disappear before dawn. On one mission, they infiltrated a military base on what used to be New Seoul. The aliens had converted the human city into their headquarters. Dae-jung and his team snuck past security using stolen uniforms and forged credentials. They planted explosives throughout the command center. When the bombs went off, the entire base collapsed. 3,000 alien soldiers died in minutes. But that was not the point. The point was the message they left on every screen before escaping. We are not dead. We are coming for you. Dr. Hana worked day and night in her hidden laboratory. The Prometheus device was nearly complete. She had gathered scientists from 3 other surviving research stations. Together they built something the galaxy had never seen before, a weapon that could destabilize stars themselves. She knew it was dangerous, possibly insane, but humanity needed an advantage. Something that would make the Concordat afraid, something that proved humans could hit back just as hard. Her colleague asked if she ever thought about what they were becoming. They used to be explorers and scientists. Now they built weapons of mass destruction. Hana stopped working and looked at him. The Concordat killed their families, destroyed their homes. What did he expect them to become? Ambassador Mira was still trapped on the Concordat homeworld. But trapped did not mean helpless. She had diplomatic access codes. She knew how their systems worked. And she had always been good at making friends. She discovered something interesting. Not all aliens supported the genocide. Some voted against it, others stayed quiet out of fear, and a few were actively working against their own government. Mira made contact with these dissidents. She provided them information about Concordat military movements. In return, they helped her access classified files. What she found shocked her. The genocide was not about security. It was about fear. The Concordat leadership was terrified of humanity. Humans advanced too fast, learned too quickly. In just 300 years, humanity went from primitive planet to galactic civilization. What took other species millions of years, humans did in centuries. The old alien empires feared being surpassed. Mira transmitted this information to Tai Hyun. Now they knew the truth. The genocide was not justified. It was murder born from cowardice. The attacks continued for months. Human forces struck and vanished like phantoms. Alien crews began calling them death whispers. Ghost ships that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Entire Concordat sectors requested transfer to safer zones. Nobody wanted patrol duty in human-haunted space. Admiral Tae Hyun achieved something remarkable. He captured an alien dreadnought intact. His ships ambushed it while damaged from a previous engagement. They boarded it quickly. The alien crew surrendered without much fight. They were too scared to resist properly. The captured ship provided valuable intelligence. Concordat fleet positions, command structures, communication codes, and something else. Evidence that the genocide was planned years in advance. The Concordat had been preparing to exterminate humanity long before Directive 719. Tai Hyun recorded a message. He broadcast it across every Concordat channel in the galaxy. His face appeared on millions of screens. His voice calm and cold. You tried to erase us. You failed. We survived. And now we will show you what extinction truly means. This is not revenge. This is retribution. Run if you want. Hide if you can. We will find you. Because we are humans, and humans never stop fighting. The message spread across the galaxy. Some aliens dismissed it as empty threats from a dying species. Others were not so sure. They had seen what these ghosts could do. They had heard the reports, watched the casualty numbers climb. The Concordat had tried to exterminate humanity. What they got instead was a war they could not win. Because you cannot fight an enemy who has nothing left to lose, and you cannot kill people who are already supposed to be dead. Dr. Hana stared at the console in front of her. The Prometheus array was complete. Years of theoretical research, months of desperate construction. It was finally ready, and she was terrified of what she had created. The device could manipulate quantum fields on a massive scale. It could destabilize stars, create gravity wells, collapse wormholes. One activation could destroy an entire solar system. It was the most powerful weapon ever built by any species in galactic history. Her assistant brought her a message from Admiral Tae Hyun. Human leadership was debating how to use Prometheus. Some wanted to target Concordat homeworlds immediately, match their genocide with equal destruction. Others argued for restraint. Use it as a threat, not a weapon. Hana understood both sides. Her family died on Earth. She wanted revenge just as much as anyone. But unleashing Prometheus on populated worlds meant killing billions of innocent aliens. Would that make humans any better than the monsters who destroyed them? The debate lasted 3 days. Finally, they reached a decision. They would demonstrate Prometheus on a military target. Prove they had the power. Show the galaxy that humanity could strike back. But they would avoid unnecessary civilian casualties if possible. The target was chosen carefully. The Kelser system, home to the largest Concordat military shipyard, 30,000 warships under construction or repair, protected by heavy shields and defense stations. No civilian population, just military infrastructure. Admiral Tae Hyun positioned his fleet at the edge of the system, 23 ships now. They had captured a few more over the months. He transmitted a final warning to the Concordat forces. Evacuate immediately. The system will be destroyed in 1 hour. The Concordat commanders laughed at the warning. 23 human ships against 30,000. They did not even bother to respond. They kept working on their vessels completely unconcerned. 1 hour later, Dr. Hana activated the Prometheus array. The effect was instant and catastrophic. The Kelser star began to destabilize. Its surface erupted with massive solar flares. Radiation poured out in every direction. In 17 seconds, the electromagnetic pulse reached the shipyard. Every electronic system within 3 light minutes died instantly. 30,000 warships went dark. Their shields failed. Their engines stopped. Their life support shut down. The ships just floated there, dead in space. The crews were trapped inside metal coffins. Some tried to escape in emergency pods. A few hundred made it to safe distance before their ships lost power completely. The rest were stranded, waiting for rescue that would come too late. Taehyun watched it happen. He felt sick. Yes, these were enemy forces. Yes, they would have used those ships to kill more humans. But watching 30,000 vessels die without firing a shot felt wrong somehow. He transmitted another message. This one went to every corner of the galaxy, every alien world, every news network. He wanted everyone to see what humanity could do. The video showed the Kelsar system, the dying star, the dead fleet, and Taehyun's face. His expression was hard, unforgiving. You thought we were extinct. You were wrong. You thought we were weak. You were wrong again. This is Prometheus. One weapon, one activation. 30,000 ships destroyed in 17 seconds. We have more. We can do this to any system in the galaxy. Your homeworlds, your colonies, your capitals. He paused, letting the message sink in. We do not want more war. We do not want more death. But we will not be exterminated. Here are our terms. Full reparations for the genocide. Return of all human territories. Public trial for everyone who authorized Directive 719. You have 1 month to comply. Refuse, and we will show you what real extinction looks like. The galaxy reacted with shock and horror. Species that ruled for millions of years suddenly faced obliteration from a race they tried to erase. The Concordat Grand Council held emergency meetings. Arguments broke out between leaders. Some wanted immediate surrender. Others demanded total war. Lieutenant Daejung and his Shadowborn continued their missions during this chaos. They discovered something disturbing on a raided Concordat base. Prison camps. Thousands of human survivors locked in cells, being used for biological experiments, torture, research into human psychology and pain tolerance. Daejung freed everyone he could. But many were too damaged to survive. The things done to them were unspeakable. He recorded everything, sent it to Taehyun. The Admiral added it to the evidence file against the Concordat. Ambassador Mira made contact with a group called the Vrethian Separatists. These aliens had opposed the genocide from the beginning. They voted against Directive 719. Now they wanted to help humanity, not out of guilt, but because they believed it was right. The Vrethians provided intelligence, safe houses, medical supplies. They even offered military support if war continued. Mira was cautious. Trusting aliens had gotten humanity nearly exterminated. But these Vrethians seemed genuine, and humanity needed allies. Back in her laboratory, Dr. Hanna monitored the Prometheus array. It worked perfectly. Too perfectly. She could activate it again any time. Target any system. Kill billions with a button press. The power scared her more than the Concordat did. She made a private decision. Once this war ended, she would destroy Prometheus. Humanity should not have this kind of power. Nobody should. Some weapons were too dangerous to exist. The month deadline approached. The Concordat remained divided. 3 major species withdrew from the coalition entirely. They wanted nothing to do with this war. 5 others publicly apologized to humanity and offered reparations independently. But the core Concordat leadership refused to surrender. They called humanity terrorists, criminals. They mobilized their remaining fleets. If they could not have peace, they would have total war. Admiral Taehyun received their response with grim resignation. He hoped they would be reasonable. He hoped Prometheus would never need activation again. But the Concordat chose violence, so humanity would give them violence unlike anything they could imagine. The Concordat fractured like breaking glass. What was once a unified coalition of thousands of worlds now split into 3 groups: peace advocates who wanted to negotiate with humanity, hardliners who demanded total war, and neutrals who just wanted to survive. Admiral Taehyun watched the political chaos through intercepted communications. The alien empire was eating itself from inside. Good. Let them fight each other. It made his job easier, but the hardliners were not finished. They launched Operation Final Judgment. 7,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Their target was the Tannhauser sector, where human refugees and military forces were regrouping. Taehyun had 400 ships to defend the sector. The odds were impossible, 17-1. Any reasonable commander would retreat, save the fleet, live to fight another day. But retreating meant exposing the refugee convoys. 30,000 human survivors trying to escape to safe zones. Civilians, children, the last remnants of colonies destroyed in the genocide. If Taehyun ran, they would all die. He called his captains together, explained the situation, gave them a choice. They could retreat and preserve the fleet, or they could stand and protect the refugees. It was not a fair choice. It was barely a choice at all. Every captain chose to stay. The Battle of Tannhauser began on a Tuesday morning, Galactic Standard Time. The Concordat fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 7,000 ships arranged in attack wings. Their commander broadcast a message: surrender immediately or be destroyed. Taehyun responded with 2 words: come try. The Concordat attacked with overwhelming force. Missiles filled the space between fleets. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Human ships scattered like leaves in a storm. They could not match the enemy in firepower or numbers, so they used speed and tactics instead. Human vessels darted between enemy formations, fired at close range, used the Concordat ships as shields against their own fleet. It was chaotic, desperate, and somehow it worked. Lieutenant Daejung led boarding operations. His Shadowborn Marines used transport pods to board enemy capital ships during the battle. They fought through corridors, captured command centers, turned alien vessels against their own fleet. It was insane. It was brilliant. One captured dreadnought alone destroyed 15 enemy ships before they realized it was compromised. Daejung and his team barely escaped before the aliens self-destructed their own vessel to stop them. Dr. Hana deployed new weapons from her research station. Cyber warfare tools that infected alien computer systems. Gravity mines that crushed ships like tin cans. Fusion bombs disguised as debris. Every trick humanity could think of. The battle lasted 8 days. 8 days of constant fighting. No rest, no relief. Human crews fought until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then they took stimulants and fought some more. By day 5, Taehyun had lost half his fleet. 200 ships reduced to wreckage. The Concordat had lost over 2,000. But they had thousands more. Humans had nothing left. On day 8, Taehyun prepared for the final stand. 70 human ships remained operational. The Concordat still had nearly 5,000. This was the end. They had done everything possible. Bought enough time for most refugees to escape. Now they would die fighting. Then something impossible happened. 1,200 ships dropped out of hyperspace. But they were not Concordat. They were Vrethian, the alien separatists who opposed the genocide. They had come to help. Ambassador Mira had been working behind the scenes for months, building alliances, making promises, convincing alien species that humanity deserved to survive. The Vrethians believed her, and they brought friends. The Vrethian commander opened communications with Taehyun. His voice was firm. They stood with humanity, against tyranny, against genocide, against the corrupt Concordat leadership that had ruled through fear for too long. Together, humans and Vrethians turned the tide. The Concordat fleet suddenly faced an enemy that matched their numbers, and these enemies were angry. The battle became a slaughter. Enemy ships tried to retreat, but human forces cut off their escape routes. Of 7,000 Concordat warships, less than 400 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. The greatest military force ever assembled was shattered by an alliance nobody saw coming. The battle became known as the Day the Galaxy Bled. It marked the end of Concordat military supremacy. The ancient empire that ruled for millions of years was broken by a species they tried to exterminate, and allies they thought they controlled. After the battle, Taehyun met with the Vrethian commander in person. They stood together on the bridge of the damaged Indomitable. The alien looked at the human admiral with respect. The commander said his people had watched the genocide with shame. They voted against it but lacked courage to act. Humanity's resistance inspired them, showed them that fighting back was possible. They should have helped sooner. They were sorry. Taehyun accepted the apology. He was too tired for anger anymore. They won, against impossible odds. With unlikely allies, humanity survived. News of Tannhauser spread across the galaxy. Multiple Concordat species formally recognized human sovereignty. Some offered reparations. Others just wanted peace. The Grand Council collapsed completely. There was no unified Concordat anymore. Just fragments of a broken empire. But victory came with questions. Why did the Concordat really want humanity dead? The official reasons never made sense. Ambassador Mira promised to find answers. She had sources inside the old power structure. people who knew secrets, and she was determined to uncover the truth. Ambassador Mira sat in a dark room, reading files that should not exist. Classified documents thousands of years old. Hidden records. Secret communications. Her Vrithian intelligence contacts had delivered them with a warning. What she was about to learn would change everything. The genocide was not about security. It was about a prophecy. Ancient texts predicted that a young species would rise and topple the old galactic order. The texts were written millions of years ago by a civilization now extinct. But the Concordate elders took them seriously. Very seriously. When humanity appeared, advancing impossibly fast, the elders became convinced. Humans were the prophesied species, the ones who would end their reign. So they decided to act first. Exterminate humanity before the prophecy could come true. Mira felt sick reading this. Billions of humans died because some ancient aliens believed in prophecies. Her parents, her friends, her entire world, all because of superstition and fear. But there was more. The files mentioned something called the Archivists, an ancient cabal of leaders who manipulated galactic politics for millennia. They orchestrated the rise and fall of civilizations, always ensuring they remained in control, always pulling strings from shadows. The Archivists were the true power behind the Concordate. The Grand Council thought they ruled the galaxy. They were wrong. They were puppets. And the Archivists decided humanity had to die. Mira transmitted everything to Admiral Tae-hyun and the Human Command Council. They held an emergency meeting. The question was simple. What did they do with this information? Some argued for peace. They won the war. The Concordate was broken. Humanity could rebuild now. Why risk more conflict? Others demanded justice. The Archivists orchestrated genocide. They should pay for their crimes. Tae-hyun made the decision. They would hunt the Archivists. Not for revenge, for justice. These beings manipulated the galaxy for too long, caused suffering across thousands of worlds. Humanity would end their reign. Lieutenant Dae-jung received his new orders. His Shadowborn would target Archivist strongholds. Not military bases this time. Shadow networks. Hidden facilities. Secret councils. Places where the real power operated away from public eyes. The first mission targeted a data archive on a remote moon. Supposedly it was a university library. Actually, it contained records of archivist manipulations going back hundreds of thousands of years. Evidence of engineered wars. Controlled governments. Eliminated species. Dae-jung and his team infiltrated the facility disguised as maintenance workers. They copied everything. Every file. Every record. Then they broadcast it all across the galaxy before escaping. The revelations shocked everyone. Alien civilizations realized they had been puppets for ages. Their governments were not their own. Their wars were manufactured. Their histories were lies. Public outrage erupted across hundreds of worlds. The archivists tried to suppress the information. Too late, it spread too fast. Copies everywhere. People were angry. They wanted answers. They wanted accountability. Dr. Hana developed a new tool during this time. A quantum communication network immune to surveillance. She called it the Free Network. Anyone could use it. No government could block it. No organization could monitor it. True free speech for the first time in galactic history. The Free Network changed everything. Resistance movements organized across the galaxy. Species that never communicated before formed alliances. The archivists lost control of information. Their greatest weapon was gone. Ambassador Mira worked tirelessly to build the Galactic Liberation Coalition. 50 species united against archivist control. Some joined for justice. Others for revenge. All agreed the old system had to end. The coalition demanded the archivists reveal themselves. Face trial for their crimes. Make public everything they had done. The archivists refused. They had remained hidden for millions of years. They were not going to expose themselves now, so humanity found them instead. It took months of investigation, following money trails, tracking secret communications, analyzing power structures. But eventually they located the Archivist Supreme Council, a hidden sanctuary in a pocket dimension only accessible through specific coordinates. Admiral Tae-hyun led the assault personally. 20 ships, the best crews humanity had. They jumped into the pocket dimension ready for heavy resistance. What they found was surprising. The sanctuary was not a military fortress. It was a palace, beautiful, ancient, peaceful. The archivists were not warriors. They were bureaucrats. Administrators who commanded armies but never fought themselves. The archivists tried to negotiate, offered Taehyun power, wealth, anything he wanted. They could make humanity the new dominant species, rule the galaxy together. All he had to do was let them go. Taehyun refused. He had not come for power or wealth. He came for justice. The archivists were arrested. All of them. Dozens of ancient beings who controlled the galaxy for ages, taken into custody by a species they tried to exterminate. The trial was broadcast across every world. Humans, Vrethians, and representatives from 50 other species presented evidence. The archivists tried to defend themselves, claimed they maintained order, prevented chaos, made difficult decisions for the greater good. The judges were not convinced. Order through manipulation was tyranny. Peace through control was oppression. The archivists were found guilty of crimes against thousands of civilizations, including genocide against humanity. The sentence was permanent exile. The archivists would be sent to an isolated planet. No technology, no communication. They would live out their extremely long lives alone, separated from the galaxy they once controlled. Some wanted execution. Mira argued against it. Killing them would make humans no better than the monsters who destroyed Earth. Justice should not become revenge. The galaxy agreed. The archivists were exiled, their networks dismantled, their assets seized and distributed as reparations. The old Concordat was formally dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Assembly was formed. A democratic coalition where all species had equal voice. No more puppet masters, no more hidden rulers, just open cooperation and honest governance. It was not perfect, but it was better. Admiral Taehyun stood in front of a memorial wall on Earth. 12 billion names carved into black stone. Every human who died in the genocide. His wife's name was there. His daughter's too. He touched the cold stone and felt nothing but emptiness. They won. Humanity survived. The archivists were punished. The galaxy was free, but victory felt hollow. Too many dead. Too much lost. The price of survival was almost too high to bear. Earth was being rebuilt. Cities rose from ashes. Forests were replanted. Oceans were cleaned. But the planet would never be the same. Scars covered every continent. Radiation zones that would take centuries to heal. Mass graves holding billions. Of 12 billion humans, only 800 million survived. Most were born after the genocide or lived in remote colonies that escaped destruction. An entire generation knew only war and survival. They grew up in bunkers and warships, never saw Earth in its glory. Taehyun retired from military service. He was 53 years old but felt ancient. 5 years of constant war aged him decades. He could not command anymore, could not make decisions that cost lives. He had done enough. He spent his days at the memorial, talking to names on stone, apologizing to people who could not hear. Every tactical decision he made saved some lives but cost others. He remembered each choice, each sacrifice. The weight never left him. Dr. Hana made her own decision. She dismantled the Prometheus array, erased every schematic, destroyed every component. The weapon was too dangerous to exist. Humanity should never have that kind of power. Nobody should, her colleagues protested. Prometheus was their ultimate defense, their guarantee of survival. Without it, humanity was vulnerable again. Hana disagreed. Prometheus made them monsters. It gave them power to commit genocide themselves. She would not allow it. She turned her research toward reconstruction instead, developing technology to restore damaged worlds, techniques to heal radiation poisoning, methods to accelerate forest growth, using her genius to build instead of destroy. Lieutenant Dae-jung struggled with peacetime. For 5 years he knew only combat, missions, objectives, clear enemies. Now there was nothing. No battles to fight, no operations to plan, just quiet civilian life that felt wrong somehow. He tried to adjust, found an apartment on Earth, got a normal job, but he could not sleep. Every sound was a potential threat. Every shadow might hide an enemy. He startled at loud noises, avoided crowds. His mind was still at war even though the war was over. Eventually he found purpose again. The new Galactic Assembly needed peacekeeping forces, soldiers who understood how to fight but chose restraint. Dae-jung became an instructor, training the next generation from multiple species, teaching them tactics and ethics, war and mercy. His students came from everywhere. Humans who grew up during the genocide, Brethians who fought at Tannhauser, even some former Concordat soldiers who regretted their role in the war. Daejung taught them all. Soldiers were not born evil. They followed orders, made bad choices, but they could learn better. Ambassador Mira became Secretary General of the Galactic Assembly. 50 species trusted her to lead. She worked tirelessly to ensure the mistakes of the past never repeated. Creating laws against genocide, establishing war crimes tribunals, building systems of accountability. But politics were exhausting. Every day brought new conflicts, trade disputes, border disagreements, cultural tensions. The assembly was better than the Concordat, but it was far from perfect. Democracy was messy and slow and frustrating. Mira missed the simplicity of war sometimes. Clear enemies, obvious objectives. In politics, everyone was both friend and opponent. Nothing was simple. She wondered if this was what they fought for. Endless meetings and compromises. Then she reminded herself, yes, this was exactly what they fought for. The freedom to argue, to disagree, to work through problems without violence. Humanity received reparations from dozens of species, technology, resources, territory. Entire star systems handed over as apology for supporting the genocide. Some humans wanted to refuse. Pride demanded they rebuild alone. Mira convinced them to accept. These were not handouts. They were justice, compensation for crimes committed. And humanity needed help. 800 million people could not rebuild an interstellar civilization alone. Accepting aid was not weakness. It was wisdom, but not everyone was happy with the new order. Remnant archivist cells still operated in shadows, small, weak, but dangerous. They tried to sabotage the assembly, spread misinformation, reignite old conflicts, and some alien species resented humanity's sudden rise to power. Humans went from nearly extinct to influential in just 5 years. Some saw it as earned. Others viewed it as unfair. Humanity survived through luck and alien help, they said, not through strength. Within humanity itself, divisions grew. Some wanted isolation, build strong defenses and trust nobody. Others advocated integration, join the galactic community fully. Both sides had good arguments. Both remembered the genocide differently. Taehyun watched these debates from retirement. He had no answers, no wisdom to share. He was just tired. He wrote his memoirs, recording everything that happened. The decisions, the battles, the costs. Maybe future generations would learn from their mistakes. The memoirs became galactic bestsellers, not just among humans. Aliens read them too, learning about the war from the human perspective, understanding what they did, what it cost. Some felt guilt. Others felt nothing, but at least they knew. 5 years after Tannhauser, humanity held a memorial service for the fallen. Every survivor attended. They gathered at the monument Taehyun helped design. 12 billion names, 12 billion lights in the darkness. Mira gave a speech. She talked about loss and survival, about justice and mercy, about remembering the dead while building for the living. She said humanity's greatest victory was not defeating the Concordat. It was refusing to become like them. They won the war. But winning did not erase the pain, did not bring back the dead, did not make everything okay. Victory was just the end of fighting. The hard part was learning how to live again. 20 years passed since the genocide. Earth was green again, cities filled with life. Children played in parks where battlefields once stood. Humanity's population reached 4 billion. Not what it was before, but growing. Healing Admiral Taehyun was 73 now. Gray hair, tired eyes, but he smiled more these days. His granddaughter visited often. She was born after the war. Knew peace her entire life. She asked him about the old days. He told her some stories, not all. Some memories were too dark to share. Dr. Hana's reconstruction technology transformed the galaxy. Damaged worlds recovered in years instead of centuries. She won awards from dozens of species, but she did not care about recognition. She just wanted to fix what war had broken. Lieutenant Daejung commanded the Peacekeeping Academy now. His rank was general, but he still preferred lieutenant. It reminded him of simpler times. His students came from 200 species, learning to fight together, learning when not to fight at all. Ambassador Mira served her 4th term as Secretary General. The assembly had grown to 300 member species. Trade flourished. Cultural exchanges happened daily. Scientific cooperation led to incredible discoveries. The galaxy was better than it had been in millions of years. But peace never lasted forever. A human exploration ship detected something strange during a deep space survey. Massive structures beyond known space, artificial, ancient. The survey team moved closer to investigate. What they found defied comprehension. The structures were huge, bigger than planets, covered in technology that predated all current civilizations. Analysis suggested they were millions of years old, built by something that existed before the archivists, before the Concordat, before any known species, and the structures were activating. Energy readings spiked across all sensors. Dormant systems coming online after ages of sleep. The exploration team transmitted everything back to human command before retreating quickly. Whatever was waking up, they did not want to be there when it fully activated. Mira called an emergency assembly session. Every species sent representatives. The humans shared their data. Experts analyzed it. The conclusions were disturbing. These structures had power far beyond anything the galaxy possessed. If they were hostile, no current technology could stop them. Some species panicked, demanded immediate military mobilization. Others argued for peaceful contact. Maybe these ancient builders were friendly. Maybe they could be negotiated with. The debate grew heated. Taehyun received a message. The assembly was requesting his return to service. They needed someone with experience facing impossible threats. Someone who survived when survival seemed impossible. He was old, retired, done with war. But the galaxy needed him again. He accepted. Within weeks, a coalition fleet assembled. 50 species contributed ships, humans, Vrethians, former Concordat members, everyone who could fight. Not because they wanted war, but because they needed to be ready. Taehyun took command of the flagship. The UNS Indomitable had been retired and turned into a museum. They pulled it from storage and refitted it with modern technology. The ship that survived the genocide would face this new threat. Dr. Hana mobilized her research teams. They needed to understand the ancient technology, learn how it worked, maybe find weaknesses. She had not built weapons in 20 years. The knowledge was still there, though. Buried but not forgotten. General Dae-jung trained special forces from multiple species. If this came to ground combat, they needed the best. His students were ready. They learned from his experience. From humanity's survival, they would not go down easily. The coalition fleet jumped to the location of the structures. They arrived to find something terrifying. The structures had fully activated. Thousands of them, maybe millions, stretching across space farther than sensors could detect. And they were moving, coming toward galactic space, slowly, deliberately, like a tide that could not be stopped. Taehyun tried to establish communication. Broadcast greetings in every known language, ancient codes, mathematical proofs, universal symbols. Nothing worked. The structures did not respond. They just kept coming. A science team detected energy signatures matching archivist records. These structures existed before even the archivists. That was why the archivists ruled through control. They knew something was out here, something that could destroy everything. They tried to prepare the galaxy through unity. Even if their methods were wrong, the coalition held a meeting. The situation was clear. An ancient threat was approaching, more powerful than anything they faced before. They could not fight it, could not run from it, could not negotiate with it. So what could they do? A young human officer spoke up. She was born after the genocide, grew up hearing stories of survival. She said maybe they were thinking about this wrong. They survived the impossible before. Humanity did. The coalition did. They adapted, found new ways to fight, created unexpected alliances. Maybe this was not about fighting at all. Maybe it was about understanding, learning, evolving. The galaxy worked together now, not perfectly, but better than before. That was their strength. Not weapons, not numbers, unity. Taehyun listened to her words. She was right. The galaxy faced extinction. Again. But they were not the same galaxy that the Concordat ruled. They were stronger together, smarter together. Whatever came next, they would face it as partners. He transmitted a message across the entire coalition fleet. 50 species, thousands of ships, millions of crew members. His voice was calm, confident. We survived genocide, defeated tyranny, built a better galaxy from ashes. Now we face something ancient, something powerful, something unknown, but we face it together. That makes us dangerous. That makes us unstoppable. Whatever comes, we will adapt. We will survive. Because that is what we do. The fleet acknowledged his message. Human ships, Frethian cruisers, vessels from species that were enemies 20 years ago, all working together now, all ready for whatever came next. Taehyun looked at the view screen. The ancient structures filled the display, massive, terrifying, unknown. He was not afraid, though. Fear was for people who had something to lose. The galaxy already faced extinction once. They knew how to fight back. The structures kept approaching. The coalition fleet held position. Ready. Together. United. This was just another challenge. Another impossible threat. And if there was one thing the galaxy learned, it was that impossible did not mean defeated. It just meant difficult. And difficult was something they could handle.